A few months ago I tried to explain the concept of a game demo in the Gaming Codex, and I thought I'd take the time to show you what an awful demo would be. The worst one. A demo that doesn't really show you what the game is and does its best to actually convince you to not try it. It's what exactly the worst demo is may depend on different factors for everybody, on different tastes, on your personal preferences, but for me the worst demo I ever played was the one for XCOM. After I played this demo, I had lost all hope for the game. I did no longer plan on playing it, no longer plan on buying it, no longer planned on doing anything with it. Even though I am a fan of XCOM, even though it's a game that I highly anticipated, even though it was a game that I really wanted to play up until I tried the demo. I'll try to explain exactly how this demo managed to convince me to not try the game. One thing to keep in mind is that, well, two things. I did end up playing the game, which was actually much better than the demo made it out to be, though some problems in the demo did just tank the game, for me at least. And two, the video you're seeing behind me is from a show I did about the demo years ago. Because for some reason, if you already have the full version of a game on Steam, you can no longer download its demo. And I specifically wanted the demo because the full game lets you skip all the crap. Not in totality, there's still crap in the game, which can sadly not be skipped, but nothing truly as egregious as the demo of the game. It starts out well enough with a cinematic. It shows you a city being hit by what appears to be a meteorite, and people gathering around the crater instead of fleeing for their lives because it may be a bomb, and only when it starts spewing gas they realize, oh my god, we should run! This just sort of highlights its fact that everybody in this universe is utterly stupid. I actually think this is a clever bit, because I'm not joking, everybody in this game universe is dumb. Otherwise, I can't really explain the dialogue in many bits of the game. Like right at the end of this demo, there's a bit where the engineer says their technology must be incredibly advanced compared to ours. Which, seeing as how they're aliens and they got from not Earth to Earth, which is something that we cannot do in reverse, kind of already makes it pretty obvious. The dialogue is Captain Obvious the game basically, but I'm actually gonna get into it. XCOM is not a story-driven game. It never was. The demo makes it out to be one. It makes you believe that this game has a story. This game is about characters. This game is about that guy, that doctor, that mechanic guy, engineer, whatever he was. It's about these characters talking to each other, talking to you, interacting with each other, and constantly spouting off dialogue so dumb you would want to shut off the speakers. This is not what XCOM is about. Yes, it's about characters, but it's not any predefined character. It's about the characters that you make, the characters that you create, the characters that you give life to, the blank slates that you inhabit with your imagination. That's not what this demo is about. That is not what this demo conveys. This demo conveys a narrative, linear game, one with constant dialogue and hand-holding at every way. No, it's not exactly hand-holding. Hand-holding would mean that you would have a constant fail-safe, a constant backup to all your actions. No, this isn't hand-holding. This is leading. You only have two missions in this demo. One is a tutorial. The other one is also a tutorial. You start out by being taught how the game is played. And that's actually not true. You're not being taught how XCOM is played. The first mission teaches you how to click. That's it. It teaches you how to click on arrows. It never actually teaches you how to play the game. It teaches you some of its mechanics, some of its concepts like movement, like cover, but it never teaches you how to play. And by this I mean that XCOM is a game about tactics. It's a game about planning your moves carefully. It's a game about adaptability. It's a game about freedom of choice. It's a game about your ability to lead. The first mission does not even try that. The first mission is go here, only here. That's it. You do not get to choose to do anything else. You do not get to attack. You do not get to move somewhere else. You only get to do what I say. And it does this because in that map there are certain areas that it sets up to be, well, sort of atmospheric, but they're not. It's not helped by the fact that there's constant dialogue all throughout the scene. You may not hear it now because I muted the audio since I'm already talking on that video. Only I do it in a different language, so it would be kind of awkward. Any attempt to actually set up atmosphere, what it's showing you dead bodies and some people that may have been killed by a chrysalid, but you don't see the chrysalid. If they had actually put the chrysalids in this map, it would have been a lot better, a lot scarier, a lot more tense. You wouldn't have been killed by a bunch of greys. All its attempts to set up a certain sense of dread fall flat on their faces, not only because of the constant dialogue that takes away from what you're actually experiencing, but also because there's no sense of actual tension. You know that something alien hit this city. You've seen people run away in terror and panic, and now you're seeing them dead. Okay, so you know there's something here, something that killed them. And because you can only go in a straight line, because you can only go where the game tells you to, you know you're not going to actually have a surprise, have what would actually be an XCOM style experience where the enemy ambushes you. Oh sure, there is an ambush in the mission, if you could call it that. It's not an ambush because the game tells you to go there. You do not go there. The game takes you there, and most of your characters die, well, after a certain cinematic portion where you see a mind control soldier with a grenade in his hand shooting one of your guys. You have no control over that. You have no say in that. This entire scene could have just been relegated to one single cinematic. One that shows the meteor crashing down, the people fleeing for their lives, your Sky Ranger coming in, your people trying to fight the aliens and mysteriously dying out. And only one survivor makes it out. Haunted, scared, but determined to see this through, determined to get even. And thus XCOM is born. But instead you have the shadowy people in dark rooms with obscure faces ruling the world that are behind the corporate mega shadow Illuminati government that control everything, and they know everything because, you know, there's XCOM the Bureau which sets up the story of the... Well, it doesn't at all. Anyways, to yourself, okay, this mission, yeah, it's the tutorial. What did you expect? It's just a tutorial. It's meant to teach you how to play the game. Only again, it doesn't teach you how to play the game. It teaches you how to click, and that's it. It doesn't teach you how to play it, which is something that wouldn't be all that hard because compared to the other ones, this XCOM is really simple to understand. And that's something I have to give to the developers. They made an XCOM that more people can appreciate because it's easier to understand. It's also shallower and behaves like an MMO where you go from mob to mob, killing them all, instead of, you know, actually being hunted by the aliens like you would in the other games. But at the time I had hopes that they would fix that in the sequel. They didn't, but the sequel did add so much other stuff that it made the shallowness of the core mechanics seem a bit more bearable. But okay, so you passed the tutorial, you passed the first mission, so the second mission is the one that you actually get to have fun with, right? That's how it goes. Well, no, you go through more dialogue with those three characters. I keep forgetting their names because I don't care, because their presence actively makes the game worse. This is XCOM. In XCOM, you, me, we, the player, we are the leader. We are the person in charge. We give the orders. We're the ones that are actively building this story. We're building this on top of a framework that comes in the form of the progression of the war, where you would start off small with one tiny base, ill-equipped, underfunded, underdeveloped, fighting against an enemy that will become progressively stronger. If you don't adapt, if you don't grow, if you don't expand, you will be crushed. That is the story of XCOM. That is the story of the old ones. That is still the story of the new one. But on top of that, they added a layer of just bad writing. A story that is poor, a story that's made to seem deep and mysterious, but it's just kind of meh. Filled with B-movie cliches and lines you could pretty much predict because that's what a bad writer would put in that scene. It's if it were made as a parody, yeah. If this were the Naked Gun of XCOM, well, absolutely, but it's not. It's played straight with not an ounce of self-awareness. It's like a competent version of the movie The Room, but instead of Tommy Wiseau, it would be some guy that can actually act. You just have a crappy movie, not one that is so bad that it must be watched. That is the story conveyed by XCOM, especially in this demo. I'm gonna go a bit into how the story doesn't make sense in the long run either, because in the sequel, it is presumed that you all lost the war, and because the Earth is not fire and flame, you lost it early on, and yet your character, the commander, is taken captive by the aliens because you were a brilliant tactician who fought the aliens at every turn. But here's the thing, if you lost early on, then you weren't very good. And also, if you're commanding XCOM, then who's commanding XCOM when XCOM saves you? You see what I'm getting, right? This entire premise does not make sense, which is a shame because they had a similar premise to UFO the Bureau, XCOM the Bureau, whatever it was called. That wasn't a good game, but the premise it had, the way it did the whole you control multiple people by giving them orders while you're freezing time because, you know, it's the Mass Effect interface of squad control. The way they did that was brilliant. That game, as bad as it was, had 1 ounce of absolute brilliance in it that explained everything. XCOM does not. It tries to seem like it does, and it fails so badly it makes everything even more miserable. But enough ranting about the story. So, we get to mission number 2. Here we get to have fun. Here we get to play XCOM. No. At around this time, you are between 15 and 20 minutes into the demo. You are still only able to click where the game tells you to. You are still only able to go where the game tells you to with the soldier the game tells you to. You are only able to take actions that the game tells you to. 20 minutes in, you're still not playing XCOM. You are playing Call of Duty, a boring version of Call of Duty. And the map that they chose for this second mission is again one that is not representative of XCOM because it is a straight line. You have no choices. You only have the ability to go up, like on the roof of a building, but that also is a false choice because there's no advantage to going up. The enemies will still see you when you're up there, even though they shouldn't, and they shouldn't have a free turn during your turn to hide. That's just cheating to give the AI an advantage because otherwise it would be completely powerless against you on account of the way that the system is made. Doesn't really offer that much of a challenge, and then it goes into the whole let's muddle the dice a bit, which it does, and only after you defeat like the first wave of enemies does it actually let you go where you want to, at which point you realize, oh yeah, this map is a straight line. I have no options. And then the game starts dropping enemies left and right from the sky because, again, XCOM does this to you because otherwise it would not pose a challenge. The second one fixed this a bit because when the enemies do come in, they do have an actual spawn point, a drop point that you can actually see. So it actually aims to give a bit more reason to why enemies suddenly appear every time you are near an objective. And once you finish that mission, well, that's it. That's the demo. You played a game that is pretending to be XCOM but isn't. And I mean, it's pretending to be the full version of XCOM. It doesn't represent the game. XCOM, even in this version, the watered down version that Rax made, is still in some ways a good turn-based tactics game. It's one that you can have a lot of fun with, planning out things, moving your units in places you would want them to be when you start the action. It has maps that are a lot more open, less linear. It gives you a lot more freedom of choice, freedom of action. You don't even get to equip your characters with gear in this demo. You just have the default loadouts and cannot change them. So it doesn't even teach you that. The ideal demo for a game like XCOM would have been something like this. Wide shot, it's a city or a town. Actually, the best thing possible would be a small rural settlement. Fields of grain, a couple of houses. From the sky, a trail of light comes down. It impacts, you see a flash, not one that destroys the village, the town, the whatever it was. And that's suspicious, because it seemed to have slowed down at the end. And then you hear screaming, and it fades to black. You don't see what actually happened there. You're only given a sense of what happened there. And then your people arrive. They're dropped in the middle of a field. Low visibility, it's night, there's grain everywhere, you don't see much, and you get to move around wherever you want. Well, the game again explains you can move, you can click, this is your movement option, this is your shooting option, and you go around and you try to explore this place. And in the corner of your vision, you see something moving. Or better yet, if this game had the same rule set as the old XCOM, when you get close enough to one of the houses, in the enemy's turn, a plasma bolt liquefies one of your soldiers. Now you could set this up to be a scripted event, but in the old XCOM, that was a given. The first encounter usually ended with at least one of your soldiers dead. You had no idea who shot, you barely had an idea from where they shot, and you would be doing your best to figure out what was going on. And you would play just a normal mission of XCOM without any sort of hindrance to your actions, to your freedom. It'll let you from the get-go learn to play XCOM because adaptability is at the core of that series. You are always thrown into maps that you don't know with unknown numbers of enemies. You are always required to adapt, and that would have worked. And you could have had that mission be valid no matter if you won or lost. If you won, okay, you start with a leg up against the enemy, and maybe the enemy takes notice of you earlier on. But if you lost, then maybe all you see is a recording from the Sky Ranger, a warning that the enemy is dangerous, powerful, and you are going to have to fight with all your might just to survive. And it would have been done through your actions. It would have been a story told by you, by your ability, through your actions, not through dialogue, not through go here and die because we say so. It would have been a absolute perfect way to introduce someone to XCOM, not the demo that we actually got. That's like having Dark Souls' first level with the first boss be press X to kill him now. That would not fit the entire rest of the game. And this demo does not fit XCOM. Yeah, now it's about, 5 years too late, 6 years too late? I've been fermenting on this for ages. It's one of the worst examples possible of a game demo. It is incredibly frustrating to see this kind of design being considered a proper way to introduce people to the reimagination of a very good strategy series. Somehow the game still sold in spite of this demo, which is kind of scary. I mean, maybe they were targeting the, Call of Duty crowd, which are kind of used to the follow the waypoint marker style of gameplay being the entire game. And okay, that may have brought more people into XCOM, but still, as a demo, as a means to highlight the core experience of the game, it is horrible. It is the worst. I'm curious, have you seen other demos that are this bad? Do you know of one that just betrays the core concept of the game? If you do, please tell me in the comments. I may check it out just to see how horrible it is. You can make a show about it, not demo, or play anytime but now. It'll be fun. It won't, but you can pretend it is, much like you have to in this demo. Goodbye.